We are going to give a discourse about autism. Before we do, we remind you of who we are. We are Anna. We are a group of souls who are no longer on the reincarnation cycle. We experience consciousness on the astral and causal planes of consciousness. We are a part of Katye's soul family. We are a part of Katye, as she is a part of us. Katye, of course, is still in the reincarnation cycle. When you hear us speak through Katye, Katye joins us in consciousness. We come to her as a collective wave of consciousness, and we seek to bring back to Mother Earth and the inhabitants of Mother Earth a vibration of love. We bring teachings to those of you who are ready that will help you to embrace the magnificence of your soul. We bring teachings that will make you think. We bring teachings that will often sound confusing. We encourage you to read, to hear our words, and allow to filter into your consciousness that which you are ready. Don't force it. Allow yourself to be willing to have shifts in consciousness. Now, autism. As many of you are aware, there are many children being born given this medical diagnosis. We're going to make a statement. There is no condition such as autism. Those who are being labeled with autism are a new race of beings. These incarnated souls come in higher centering. We will explain higher centering later. Souls know when they create an incarnation and agree to participate in such a grand plan as bringing forth a race of beings, that it will be an enormous job. They also understand that they will, their personalities for the most part will forget about this grand plan, as will those who are in charge of taking care of them. We want to remind you that all souls come to Mother Earth for the purpose of soul growth and soul expansion. We also remind you that souls create an incarnation based on the collective consciousness which had returned to them from previous lives. Now, we remind you that humankind has gone through many evolutionary changes. The human form used to be a very light, etherical body of light. And now you currently inhabit this very dense physical form. This is the physical form that this new race of beings has to work with. Now, there have been several waves of souls who have agreed to participate in bringing forth this new race. The first wave of incarnated souls were born primarily in the early 1940s. The differences were much more subtle, and parents and physicians were not as quick to diagnose and medicate. The odds, social behaviors, and limitations of the child caused parents to eventually seek help, but they, again, were not so quick to medicate. Now, Katie's very passionate about the subject, as many of you are. We continue to say that these children are perfect. We've heard Katie say, but Anna, these children have a whole range of developmental issues, social issues, and behavioral issues. And you say they're perfect? We understand Katie's passion. We also remind you that the earth planes of consciousness, although continues to evolve, does so very slowly. Many of the social development issues are because of the demands placed on them to be normal. The souls who have chosen to bring forth this new race do so knowing that they are pioneers. The souls who have agreed to participate in bringing forth this new race will be called Homo Spiritus. Many years ago, Katie was informed that she was a Homo Spiritus. Homo Spiritus understand that they are multidimensional beings. They can navigate different planes of consciousness at will. Energetically, Homo Spiritus hold more light in their physical form, as well as the luminous body that surrounds the physical form. The new race, which we speak, will experience much of life on the fourth and fifth planes of Earth consciousness. Now, we're going to introduce centering. What is this centering that we speak of? Centering is simply how the personality will react in a situation, as well as the personality's primary automatic response. Centering is chosen by the soul as part of its life plan. The centers, we know that many of you are all aware of the term chakras. The centers are very different than the chakras. The centers act as communication bridges between the soul and the personality. Someone who is higher centering sees both the world of spirit and the world of physical. Being higher centering, soul essence contact is as natural as breathing. And just like you have no awareness that you are breathing, your breathing is automatic. And this is the experience for those who are higher centering. For them, it's very normal to coexist in the world of spirit and the world of physical. Those who are labeled with autism or higher centering. Their goals were not like those who are born creating experience through all the centers. Of course, even old souls have to go through the normal biological processes of those incarnating on the earth planes. We might add here that those incarnating in the era of 2014 are being born with all their centers awakened. This is all children. Katye has often talked about rainbow children. These children are very happy children, are they not? They are born with all their centers fully awakened. They also have continuous flow of soul. However, they're also are not participating in grounding the new race, and therefore adapting to the physical form is much easier for these children. Many of the issues that you see going on currently for those labeled autistic are having difficulty grounding the energy into the physical form. Now, Katye once asked us, why would a soul choose to participate in such something that is so difficult? Remember, these are old souls. They have been to the planet thousands of lifetimes. These old souls do not choose the parents for the reasons that perhaps a rainbow child would. These old souls choose the parents who have agreed to help to bring birth to the new race. So we're here to tell you, if you are a parent to a child who is higher centering, we will not call them autistic. They are higher centering. If you are a parent to a higher centering child, your soul, has agreed to help bring forth this new race of beings. We remind you again that these souls know that they are pioneers, along with being born genetically different. These children are higher centering. Higher centering children do not lose their connection to the astral plane of consciousness. The goal of higher centering children, incarnated souls, is to bring back the phrase, experiencing heaven on earth. The core difference, again, we are saying this, the core difference between those who are being labeled with autism and autism conditions and other personalities are the centering. Now, the first wave of children that came in the early 1940s, these children were often labeled stupid and slow. The good news, many of them weren't medicated. This wave of incarnated beings had their centering from higher to lower. They could fit in, but they were still higher centering. However, they did not. They were able to navigate the earth planes between centers. This first wave of personalities, which Katye was one, They didn't talk about the world of spirit. They knew it wasn't safe. These personalities tried hard to fit into the constructed boxes and the box thinking that especially the education system placed on them. These personalities who came in the 1940s, and we're talking primarily in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. These children, this was the first wave. They often became the misfits, the ones who didn't fit in. Many of these personalities grew up to be what you call addicts. Many of these personalities, and the second wave also, just could not figure out why personalities on Mother Earth treated each other the way that they do. We'd like to interject here that many that, what do you call it, ADD associated behaviors, these were children in the second wave primarily. Again, these incarnated souls found it very hard to fit in, much harder even than the first wave. Many of these personalities were born in the 60s and the 80s. Again, they hold a vibration of light that will help to ground the new race. And many of these that were born in the late 60s and 80s are the ones giving birth to the new race of children known as Homo spiritus. Many of these are the first two waves moved back and forth between centerings. This is a very important distinction. As Katye has evolved and brought in more light into her physical form, she has experienced what many of these higher centering children are experiencing. Katye will describe it as very electrifying in the body. It almost feels at times that her body is being, as she says, fried. She gets very hot, very heated. And at times, especially when we first really began to flow into her consciousness as Anna, she would have to rock and she would have to sway and she would have to move her body. Sometimes you would hear her yelling like something was attacking her. She was trying to ground all the energies, and these higher centering children are going through this 24/7. Do you understand what we're saying here? These higher centering children are bringing in such vast amounts of light, and they need to do this to ground this new race. And unfortunately, the only thing they have to work with is the current physical form. And so many of the things that you experience as odd behaviors are simply this child trying to ground the energies that are moving into their physical form. Do you understand what we're saying here? These children that are grounding this new energy are having difficulties. Many of these odd behaviors that you assign to them are behaviors that will be a part of the new race. Parents are always so happy when the child begins to recognize them. Oh, they just cannot believe it. They're so excited when Johnny looks at them and smiles. Parents wait for this first smile, this first recognition. Well, these higher sensory children don't do this. Many parents ask their children to perform without knowing that this is what they're doing. Smile for us, Susie. Sleep for us, Susie. Children are not meant to be performers. They're meant to be authentic, as you were. And so when these higher sensory children are born, one of the things that parents find so disconcerting is that they will gaze off into directly in front of them. They will gaze and they will appear that they are not, they're not aware of what's going on in front of them. And this is not true. They are aware. However, what they're gazing at is pure light. The best example of this we can give you, Katye says that when, after she's finished allowing us to speak through her, her eyes are very sensitive to the light. These children don't have this issue, but they're very fixated on this light instead of the earth plane of consciousness. And so one of the things that physicians and parents are using now to diagnose is that these children do not babble like other babies do. They do not make eye contact. These are two of the main criteria used. Well, these children, these higher sensory children, are here to bring you back a remembrance of the higher functionings. They're telepathic, meaning they don't have the need to babble. They have the sight, so they see both worlds of spirit and physical. Now, they're doing this, the best way we can explain to you is that these children are actually coexisting in a parallel universe. And we would agree that these higher sensory personalities are having trouble acclimating to the physical form. We are here to tell parents not to panic when you realize that your child is higher centering. Again, we continue to use this phrase, higher centering, until you realize that there is no need to rush them to the doctor and have them labeled with autism. Doctors unschooled in the soul will label them as such. The reason we are giving this information to you now is so you can help your higher centering children to begin to acclimate into the physical form. Parents panic when they realize that their child is higher centering. We would like to help create a consciousness shift that parents say, oh my child is higher centering and is going to be a part of a new race. We will talk at the end of this discourse what parents can do to help to ground their child, their higher centering child, to help their higher centering child acclimate and integrate being both spiritual and physical. This is an exciting time. However, not knowing what's going on, parents are often thrown into fear and heartache because the higher centering child is not like the neighbor's child. We remind you again that you chose. Your soul chose to be a part of this. Your soul chose life experiences that would bring you to this day where you became a parent or a grandparent to a higher centering child. You agreed to participate in the grand plan. Now, what are these higher centering children doing? In truth, they're bringing back to the earth planes of consciousness a remembrance of agape. They are bringing back to the earth planes of consciousness that we are beings of love. Now we understand that there must be a new groundwork laid to protect these children. And yes, sadly, they need protection. They need protection from the systems that do not understand that these children are part of a new race, created to bring personalities back to remembrance of love. Now, the first shift in consciousness is to begin seeing that these children are perfect the way they are. They hold a vibration which is different, but not flawed in any way. Their lack of what those around them call effective communication skills and focus is a part of their soul design. Again, we say that they communicate differently, telepathically. Words are ineffective when trying to convey love, are they not? Love cannot be expressed by words, but must be experienced by the heart. These higher centering children are emissaries of light, sent forth to bring a new consciousness. Many times these higher centering children get upset because they have been pulled into the vibration of those around them. Being telepathic, these children can sense the energies and hear the thoughts of those who are taking care of them. Currently, caregivers do not understand that they must take responsibility for the energy they are sending out via their own vibrational signature. This is one of the gifts of the higher centering children. They're here to remind all personalities to begin to take responsibility for their thoughts. Doing so, they will begin to understand how the thoughts are creating their experiences. With every shift in consciousness, the vibration of those who agree to participate must come into alignment. Thoughts communicated telepathically create, we know this. Personalities who are higher centering are hearing everything. And in turn, they're beginning to mirror that what they are receiving. Katye has asked us to explain why higher centering children, those that have been labeled autism, are angry. We must tell you they are mirroring the current vibration of the planet. They are mirroring the thoughts of their caregivers and those who have forgotten their soul contracts. Remember, we remind you again, if you are a parent a caregiver of a higher centering child, your soul has agreed to be a part of this. Currently, parents are not overjoyed when they realize that their child is different. Currently, parents, teachers, and physicians unschooled in the understanding of soul see these children as flawed. These children are perfect. They are old souls sent forth to teach those around them about love. It's that simple. They are here to birth a new race. This race will return to the core teachings of love. Do you understand what we're saying here? This race will return the inhabitants of Mother Earth to core teachings of love. Many personalities are unaware of soul. They are judging the human experience without fully understanding the genetic composition of the human form. Personalities currently see this new race as inferior. Let us state here that what is being diagnosed as a social development issue is more about those involved with the child than the child. The incarnating soul has no need to experience the earth plane through what those on earth call social development. It would do well for parents and those involved with the child labeled autistic to ask what the desires of the incarnating soul are. Understand that the child that is higher centering has a rich relationship with other planes of consciousness. Personalities, for the most part, who are parents, believe that they are the center of the incarnated child's world. This is simply not true for the higher centering child. For the higher centering child maintains a conscious connection with the world of spirit, with the astral plane, with the teachings of soul. They see the spiritual world. They embrace the spiritual world. Does this distract them? Most likely it does. However, what this new race of beings are attempting to do is to bring spiritual and physical manifestation and allow it to merge as it was meant to eons ago. Do you understand that these incarnated souls who have agreed to participate in this grand plan of birthing a new race are doing so to help all humanity? It would do well for those around them to begin to ask, what can we do to help these incarnated souls, these children? It would do well for those around the child to begin to focus on what buttons are being pushed. When your child does not smile at you and coo like a little baby, what happens to you? For the most part, we are aware that parents become disappointed. We are telling you that those schooled in the language of the soul would understand immediately that a personality who has been born higher centering is an old soul. This old soul has chosen to participate in the new race. Now, Katie keeps telling us that, but Anna, these children are experiencing physical problems, emotional problems, mental problems. The family system is being ripped apart by what is occurring with these higher centering children. Again, we would say we understand that any shift in consciousness is going to affect the masses. These higher centering children are going to continue to be born. We will say this again. these higher centering children will continue to be born. To physicians, we would say, stop medicating these children. You have participated in medicating generations of children, which are simply higher centering. What your medication does is create a filter which begins to alter the vibration and their conscious connection and awareness of soul. Now, we are by no means telling anyone to go off the medicine which has been prescribed by a physician. Hear us say this again. We are not telling personalities to take their children off medicine which has been prescribed by their physician. What we are saying is to begin to look at different ways of helping your child. Physicians, we say, when you focus on lack and disease, your patients will honor you by giving you that which you desire. Physicians, begin to admit that you do not have the ability to help these children bring forth the creative expression of their soul. Now, this does not mean you cannot begin to help them. You can. Reach within and remember the remembrance. Bring forth that you yourself are an incarnated soul. Allow the stream of soul consciousness to fill you with why you became a physician. You wanted to heal. You wanted to help. Do you truly believe that you are healing the many? Medications heal no one. Every physician knows this. It simply takes care of symptoms. We would encourage you, physicians, to begin to see these children through the eyes of the soul. Begin to see all your patients through the eyes of the soul. Your soul will guide you how to create miracles, which will someday be normal as the consciousness of healthcare providers begin to change. Remember, these higher centering children will someday grow up to be physicians. This is the future. Again, we say there is no condition known as autism. This was a label given out of frustration because higher centering children do not fit in the box. Physicians, it's time to tear down the box. Connect to the creative expression of your soul. At the core, you became a physician and swore an oath to do no harm. Begin to create effective change by admitting that you do not know how to treat higher centering children. Take the first step and bring forth your inner healer. Connect with your own soul and then connect with the souls of these higher centering children. They will teach you. Change begins one incarnated soul at a time. Physicians, be that change. To teachers, we say stand up. Stand up to the old ways and create experiences for those who enter your classrooms. For all of those who enter your classrooms. Not just the ones that fit into the box. All children are unique individuals, and it is your responsibility to bring forth the creative expression of their soul, even in a classroom setting. The higher centering child cannot be taught in the old ways. They cannot be taught in the current environment. As a part of your soul agreement, you have the responsibility to stand up in your power and not allow those in authority to dictate ways of old teaching that you know are wrong for these children, as well as all higher centering children. How many lives will it take you to stand up and to begin to say, this is wrong? We must teach in a different manner. To parents, we say, release the fear and disappointment that your child is not normal. True, they are not as other children. They will not respond to your internal need for them to perform for you. They're not going to perform. These children will not coo and smile and need you to cuddle them. Have no doubt. They are intelligent and they are creative. They are compassionate and they are loving beings. They are here to help humanity shift into a vibration of love. Yes, your child is different. All children are unique, are they not? You have a sacred and binding soul contract to be that which your child needs you to be. Begin to ask what your fears you must release to bring forth not only your child's creative expression, but also your own. You are a parent, advocate, and protector of your child. You have a sacred and binding agreement to be a part of a consciousness shift. You must use your voice to help bring forth change. You must protect your child from those who are not schooled in the teachings of the soul. You must also shift your vibrational signature to one of love. This is the only energy which these gifted beings of light will respond. Have no doubt, if you are smiling at these children, but hold anything but love in your heart, they will make it clear to you. They will project an image or what you are feeling. We understand your frustration. We understand your anger. Everywhere you turn to for help usually leads to more frustration. Your cries go unheard. Turn to your soul and your angelic guides. They have not abandoned you, nor will they. You are not alone. Your sacred contract is clear. You have promised to embrace the magnificence of your higher centering child. To do so, you must embrace your own magnificence. Yes, there are many challenges. Begin to accept your higher centering child as perfect. They are a new race. You have been chosen to participate in this grand plan. Do not turn away from your higher centering child, but embrace that you are in part of a higher plan. Your higher centering child has the great task of grounding higher streams of consciousness. They use the same physical body, which all incarnated souls use in the era of 2014. This physical body is somewhat limiting. Souls who have volunteered to be a part of this grand plan understand this. Of course, it is not until one has incarnated that reality sets in. We would agree many higher centering children are having trouble adjusting to this physical form. There is much you can do to help. First, accept your higher centering child as perfect. See beyond the dreams and hopes your personality planned for this child. Allow yourself to remember your soul contract and the grand plan which you agreed to participate in. Many of these higher centering children are sensitive to your tainted food supplies. Yes, you're hearing us say that your genetically modified foods and your food supplies are tainted. Feed them only the highest forms of food and liquid. Give them foods which will nourish their body. Each child is different. Stay away from genetic modified foods. Dairy is often another substance which many of these higher centering children find difficult to assimilate into their bodies. Wheat, genetic modified wheat, is poison to many of these higher centering children. We would also remind you that the same foods and drink which poison these higher centering children are also greatly affecting others, including yourself. The food is not as healthy as it once was. All personalities must take a few steps back, especially those who are birthing into Homo spiritus. The physical form of the Homo spiritus, Katye is one, is very different. Most importantly, you must advocate for your higher-centering child. Create an environment where he or she can bring forth the promptings of their soul. Learn the language of your higher-centering child. Telepathic communication is a language which suppresses any language barrier. We remind you that your higher-centering child will mirror the energy which is around them. Many times, when these children get upset, it is because they have gotten pulled into the vibrational frequencies of those around them. Being telepathic, these children can sense the energies and hear the thoughts of those that are taking care of them. Take responsibility for your thoughts. Your higher centering child hears your thoughts. Begin taking responsibility. Being higher centering, they do not take personal your disappointment that she is not normal, like other children. Own your emotions. Get help with your anger, your disappointment, and your resentment that your child is not a Homo sapien. Your child is a Homo spiritus. There is a difference. Embrace the magnificence of your child. Together you are forging a new race. This race will be one grounded in love by incarnated souls who know that love is the way. We continue to tell you to honor that there is indeed not a condition known as autism. These are higher centering, incarnated souls who are birthing a new race. Now, many people say, well, what can we do to help? There's much that can be done. First and foremost, understand. Katye said last week, she said, Anna, do you see that they're saying that they can get the autism out of the children? Of course, we find this ridiculous. There is no such thing as autism. What is occurring is, unbeknownst to the physicians and the parents and the teachers, is that some of these techniques are helping the incarnated soul, which is higher centering, to ground more of the energy. So, some of these techniques which are getting Johnny or Susie to make eye contact. Johnny and Susie must understand that part of being in a physical form, personalities make eye contact. Do not make it the goal to change your child that she is no longer a child with autism. What you are doing is seeking to help ground the energy of the higher centering child. This is very different. Do not coo and call to your baby. Instead, begin to learn the language that your child is speaking. Telepathy. Send images of love to your child. When you hold your child, tell your child that you understand that it is higher centering and that you are both participants in a consciousness shift. Tell your soul that you are willing to learn, to grow with your higher centering child. Remember, if you are a parent to a higher centering child, you yourself are moving towards this higher centering. Perhaps you have already begun the process of becoming a Homo spiritus. These include light body changes in your life as far as how you see the world through physical consciousness. You begin to see the world through spiritual consciousness, which allows you to expand, being a multidimensional being. This is why you have agreed to participate in the grand plan. You can help to ground your higher centering child by doing things at your child's feet, by massage, by getting them energy techniques. They respond greatly to energy techniques. Again, this is not to heal the child of autism. This is to help the higher centering child ground the force of energy that is constantly flowing through them. As we have said, Katye can very well talk about these changes because she felt the burning in her physical body. These children go through this 24/7. They do not escape all the energy that is running through them. So as the parent, it is your responsibility and your job to help them begin to acclimate into the physical form. Swaddling is very good for these children. Wrapping them so they feel protected. Now, that said, there's also a period in the day that you should allow your higher centering infant, your baby, to not be swaddled, to be loose, and so they can kick the feet and touch, and they respond, believe it or not, they respond to touch. They respond to you saying, I am your mommy, I am your daddy. They respond to your love. They do not respond to your fear and your anger. They will mirror it back to you, but they will not grow. They will not anchor more of their spirit in an environment which is angry, fearful. So, there is much you can do for your higher centering child. The beginning of the process is to understand that your higher centering infant will always be different. They are a homo spiritus. This is the race that they are a part of. Now, there's another issue. What do we do with all the higher centering children who are now teenagers and young adults? How do we intervene and help them? In truth, it is much harder for these pioneers, but it is not impossible. The same techniques that we gave you to work with the infant will work with these children. Again, it is very, very important that those working with the higher centering children understand that these children are very intuitive, are very sensitive to the energies around them and to the thoughts of those around them. These children also need not to be around clutter, chaos. They do not do well with large groups and chaotic energy. Understand? So the room should be very minimal. Keeping the how do we say this? The fixtures on the walls and the things in the room to a very minimal amount. A created environment for the teenager and the child and the young adult to understand that they are different and they are accepted and they are perfect. They are homo spiritus. And they are bringing to the planet a new race. These higher centering children are growing up. They are becoming physicians, teachers, musicians, parents themselves. Sadly, many of them were taught not to accept this part of themselves. Anyone who has been labeled with autism is higher centering. Once people begin to understand this, they can begin to heal the wounds inflicted on them by an unconscious society. As we move forward, we will give more teachings of light about these higher centering children. We encourage each one of you to become educated in the ways of the soul and in the ways in which society at large and the world populations are changing. Create an environment for these higher centering children and for yourselves to continue to grow and evolve consciously, embracing the magnificence of your souls. We know there is much to discuss. We hope that our discourse has given you some food for thought. Please send your questions. Send them to Katye and she will ask them. And we will give more discourses as we move into the future. We seek to help you create an environment for these higher centering children to grow and evolve. The world is changing. Consciousness is shifting. Be a part of this. Remember that you are an incarnated soul. Everyone is. Consciousness is shifting. Be a part of it. Be a part. Wake up to the fact that you are a part of a grand plan. Embrace the magnificence of your soul and embrace the magnificence of these higher centering children. And be prepared for the universe, for the world, for those on Mother Earth to change.